Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Today it's Fountain Pen Focus Day and I thought we'd focus on this. This is the Wing Sung 699. I know, looks very similar to a Pilot Custom 823, doesn't it? But when you actually look at it, when you use it, nowhere near the same. So we're going to focus on this. We'll walk through the body. We'll do some size comparisons, some weights and measures. I'll do a writing sample, then I'll give you my thoughts and my scores for this pen. Welcome down to the mat. Here we've got the Wing Sung 699. This is in this gorgeous blue colour. Just going to slowly turn this around just so you can get a quick look at that. You can see through, so you can actually see the converter through the body here. Let's take a walk through the body. So we start at the top at the cap. We've got a slight dome to it there. Now this is one solid colour. We come down and we've got this gold coloured ring. We've also got the gold coloured clip here. Nice and springy. The cap itself then tapers out till we get maybe halfway down there, and then it seems to be the same width. The bottom, we've got a single ring, a little bit more of the blue acrylic. Then we've got this large gold ring here. So if we just turn this around so you can see that all. Really nice. We've got wings there on it. Bit more of that blue material, and that's starting to taper down. Bottom of the cap, we've got a noticeable drop off to the body. The body, same width to near the end, then it tapers in a little bit. We've got another gold coloured ring, and then here, I'm not going to actually work it, but this is the mechanism that drives the piston that's inside. This one is a piston filler. You can also get this as a vacuum filler. I have had the vacuum filling version. I think the best way I could describe that, for me, it was completely useless. First time I worked the mechanism, it broke. It was a right nuisance. So what I've done is I've actually stripped off all the parts, and the bits that I couldn't use, I've thrown in the bin. It was of absolutely no use because it was broken. Now, you may be thinking, this pen looks very similar to this pen. This is the Pilot Custom 823. It's nearly $400 for the 823, whereas this Wing Sung, that was only $35. It's a big price difference. Yes, I know you've got a gold nib with a Pilot 823, and it's only a steel nib on here, but it's a lot more money for a pen that looks virtually the same. And my guess is that the 699, and I'm going to say the Wing Sung 699, was heavily inspired by the Pilot Custom 823. Let's swap over the view, and we'll do some size comparisons. My two standard size comparisons, Pilot Metropolitan, Lamy Safari, noticeable difference there in the lengths. Let's take the caps off and look at them unposted. Unposted, the Wing Sung, ever so slightly longer than the Safari, definitely longer than the Metropolitan. That's lined up by the bottom of the nib. The nib on the 699, that's a number 6 nib. So if I line it up by the section, we're now looking at a slightly different story. 699 and the Metropolitan very close in length, and the Safari just that little bit longer. Number 6 size nib though is quite handy, means that I can swap nibs if I want to. That was why I broke the one which wasn't working down for the parts, because I kept the nib. The nibs can always come in useful and be fitted onto other pens that use a number 6 nib. Whilst we've got the nib here, let's take a closer look at it. So it's a two-tone nib, steel nib as I said. The main colour is gold, and we've got that silvery highlights on there. Underneath the breather hole, we've got a logo, looks like some circles with a pen going through it. Below that, we've got wing and then the letter S. And then below that M, this is a medium nib. Let's post these pens. With the pens posted, again the Wing Sung, slightly longer than the Lamy Safari, and definitely longer than the Metropolitan. Let's swap over and we'll fetch in some pens that are in roughly the same price range. The 2 pens I brought in, the first one is the Kaweco Sport. That's 35 Australian dollars. The Winsung 699, that cost me 35 Australian dollars. And then the Majon or the Moonman S5, that cost 37 Australian dollars. Very similar in price, aren't they? And what I've done is by fetching in the Kaweco, I did that deliberate so it wasn't all Chinese pens, because most of the pens I've got in this price range, they're made in China and they're sold from China, and I buy them through AliExpress. One thing, looking at this, look how small the nib is there on the Kaweco. Doesn't it look like a baby? I'm going to leave the Kaweco posted because it's a pocket pen. It's designed to be used posted. But I'm going to unpost the other 2 pens. So this is how I would normally use my pens. Kaweco Sport, pocket pen, as I said, left it posted, is now longer than the other 2. And the S5 being the shortest of the 3. Just for completeness, I'll take off the cap of the Kaweco. Isn't that a lot smaller? It's just about usable for the odd word or 2. Wouldn't want to write a sentence like that though. Let's pop the caps on. Here we are with the caps on. The Winsung 699, now the longest of the 3. And the baby Kaweco there. Pocket pen, really handy. I actually love using this. This is a pen that when I go out shopping, when I'm going out of the house, that's what's in my pocket. Really handy to have. Let's swap over. We'll take a look at some weights and measures. Here we've got the rule of measuring. Let's fetch in the pen. So with the cap on, we come in at 15 centimetres. Unposted, 13.2 centimetres. And then posted, that's 17.2 centimetres. The width of the body at its widest is 1.28 centimetres. The cap is 1.49 centimetres. And then the section, that goes from 1.06 at the narrowest up to 1.14. You know, I find that really nice and comfortable to use. My fingers just fit in there so well. Posted, a bit too long for me, a little bit back heavy, but unposted, I just find this is such a nice, pleasant pen to hold and use. Let's swap over and fetch in the scales of weighing. Here's the scales of weighing. The whole pen, 22 grams. There's a little bit of ink in there though, not a lot. The body itself, 12 grams. The cap, 10 grams. It's a fairly light feeling pen. And if anything, to me, that's one of the things that I just don't like about it. But that's a personal choice. I don't like light pens. Let's get this out of the way and fetch in the notepad of testing. Here we've got the notepad of testing. This is Ayush paper. It's an A4 notebook. The paper is 100 GSM. It's got a little bit of texture to it. It's really nice to write with. It's slightly cream, so it's not a white paper. It's made in India, but there is now a company here in Australia that supplies it, which is really handy, and that's where I got this notepad from. So let's do some writing. So we've got here a Winsung 699 with a medium nib. The ink, no, we'll do the cost first, shall we? I know I've already said this. When I bought it, it was 35 Australian dollars. That was about a year ago. Chances are the prices have gone up by now. The ink is by Pilot and it's blue. It's actually the bottle that came when I got my Pilot Custom 823. There was a bottle of blue ink in there. Never actually used it in the other pen, but I thought I'll try it in here. And I do think it's a really nice match. Let's take a look at drying times. So we go immediate. 10 seconds. Almost dry there. 30 seconds. 30 seconds, that's dry. As I've said with a lot of videos lately, it's hot here in Australia at the moment. So be aware of that because the heat does affect the drying times of the ink on the paper. I do find that when I do these tests during the winter, what happens is the ink, it will take a little bit longer to dry, and usually it'll take up to a minute to dry. But at the moment, fairly quick drying. I'm going to move the mic to the page so you can hear the pen write. It's a nice writing pen. It's fairly smooth, little tiny bit of feedback. There's a little bit of texture as you're writing, so you can actually feel it through the pen. So nice feedback on this pen. Don't know if you heard that on the mic. You can just about hear it. It's not as loud as some other pens, but there is that definite audibleness about it. The nib doesn't feel too stiff. You can feel the writing through it, especially on this textured paper, so I quite enjoy that. Is there any line variation? So there's no pressure. If I add pressure, makes the nib feel a lot stiffer, and I think it's just putting down more ink. If I go with my lines across, again, not much of a difference. And then there's no pressure, this is with pressure. None, with, none, with. Didn't expect much in the way of line variation, and I don't get that. Finally, flow test. Goes really well across the page. So what are my thoughts and scores for this pen? We'll start with pen looks. I think it looks quite nice, it's quite classy. I like this blue colour. As I've already said, it's very, very similar to the Pilot Custom 823. I don't want to say it's a clone, but it's near enough, isn't it? I like the gold highlights on it, the gold trim looks nice with this blue. I like the fact it's semi-transparent, so you can see roughly the ink. And yes, I know there's not a lot of ink left in there. I reckon this will be written dry within the next couple of days. For pen looks, I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. Build quality. This particular pen had no issues. It's worked well since I've got it. Had it about a year. The previous pen, what a nightmare. It was horrible. As I say, on the first time I used it, it broke. The piston cap here broke off. Couldn't use it. Couldn't even eyedropper it because it just would not write. Horrible pen. This one, as I say, has been lucky, so that's something to be aware of. At 35 Aussie dollars, I would expect the pen to be a reasonable quality. I can only give this, though, 7 out of 10. Not so much because of this particular pen, but because of what I had with the other version that I had of this. Writing experience. Well, I think this line, although they say it's medium, to me it seems to be tending more to the fine side of medium. For fetching my 52 GSM Tomoe River paper, there we go. It's nice ink. I think it looks really nice on here. Don't see a lot of shading coming through there. That's one of the issues. I'm not sure. I think somewhere I heard that there might be a bit of a sheen to this. I've not seen it if there is. It's nice. It's all right. Does what it says. It writes. It writes quite nicely. Bit thin. I could twiddle with the nib though to make that wider. That's fairly easy to do. So for this, for the writing experience, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Ink flow, as you can see here, flows really nicely. Had no issues with hard starts or skipping. I open the pen up, it writes. One of my tests that I do is I actually left it about 3 months in the end. Picked it up and it wrote straight away. Nice pen, doesn't dry it that quickly. So my score for ink flow, 8 out of 10. Pen comfort, it's nice. I like it. The section slightly reminds me of a Leonardo section, although it does start to come out a little bit down here near the bottom. My fingers, though, fit really nice. It's comfy to use. Perfect length for me. Perfect width there as well. This is a pleasure to use this pen. It's a bit on the light side. I do like a little bit of weight to my pens. It's hardly there in your hand, and it's not that it disappears in your hand. You know it's there. It just feels too light. So for comfort, 8 out of 10. Value for money. I'll be honest with you, I do prefer this piston version over the vacuum filling version, purely because it works, but I also think the mechanism is better, although the downside is you lose half the barrel to that mechanism. It's a nice pen. The nib, I say a little bit on the fine side of medium. Ink in here seems to last and last and last. It's one of those pens when you think to yourself, is the ink actually reproducing in there, because it seems to never run out. Although I'd say we're getting very close now. It's a nice pen. Problem is, it doesn't excite me. The Pilot Custom 823, it attracts me to it. I want to write with this. This one is a pen. It's there. I'll use it if I can get my hand on it, but I won't go searching for it. Value for money, 8 out of 10. That means the total score for the Wing Sung 699 with Pilot Blue is 8 out of 10. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. What are your thoughts on the Wing Sung 699? Have you got one? Do you intend to get one? Are you looking at a piston version? Are you looking for a vacuum filling version? What makes you choose between the two? I'd be really interested in that. Drop your comments down below. Let's kickstart the conversation. Please hit the thumbs up button. Every time you like, every time you comment, just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.